So, good afternoon, and once again, welcome to the class of sales management. Yesterday, we finished up we started block number one, and we finished up also. Now, today, we'll talk about block number two, and we'll try to as much as possible today. I hope, the sales management, the definition, and also certain terminology were clear to you people. So let's begin today. And today we'll talk about Unit 4, in which we are going to study communication skills. And I understand that we all know that how communication skill or how much communication skill is important for everyone in today's life. Especially in business world, it is of vital importance. So today we'll talk about the definition of communication skill, the objectives, the skills which are required for sales force. We'll also talk about verbal, non-verbal, and written communication, and so hence and so forth. So this is the structure, how we are going to start. So without wasting any further time, we'll begin. Look at this. The communication, as we know, it has derived from the Greek, from the Latin word commune, which means common. So when I talk about communication, it means something which is of common use and then you are sharing. The definition says is the transfer of information and understanding from one person to other person. It is a way of reaching others with facts, values, thoughts, and ideas. As I have been telling you, that in marketing, communication has got a lot of importance. And we have got two aspects of communication, marketing communication, you have to say. The first one is the message, the type of message. When I say type of message, I mean the content. And the second is the medium through which the message is imparted, communicated to the receiver. Now, these two factors are very, very important as far as marketing communication is concerned. So here we understood the base of the term called communication, taken from Latin word called commune, which means common, and then communication means transfer of ideas, values, or of anything valuable to both the party. When I say both the party, I mean the communicator, the sender, and the receiver. So this is how, and this is the meaning of word communication. So we'll move ahead. Look at this. How this works, you can ask me, sir, fair enough. You told us the difference, the definition of communication. But can you explain how this works? Yes, we are going to discuss this thing, and the entire process. When I talk about the entire process, I mean the entire process of communication has 7 steps involved, and it starts with the source. Source means the origin of the message. That is the point of the origin of the message. Second would be the message. What exactly is the message? Third is the channel, the via, the medium through which that channel will be sent. Fourth is the receiver. I just told you there are two parties involved into it, sender and receiver. Now, once the receiver receives or gets the message which the sender has sent in the right form, there is no dilution of the message, then he will give the feedback. It means when I say feedback, I talk about that, yes, I got the message and I understood the message. That's the feedback. And the sixth one is the environment, the surrounding in which the communication is being done. Maybe it's in classroom, in front of computer, or somewhere in public place. And the last one is context. When I say context, I mean in what context the message is sent. Is the message is formal, official, or something personal? So इसको हिंदी में हम लोग संदर्भ कहते हैं. That is the context. So if I have to talk about the communication process, it will have 7 elements involved. By mistake, it is mentioned 8 over here. So kindly excuse that. So it starts with the source and it ends with the context. So this is how a communication network works. I hope this is clear. We'll move. Look at this. Communication objective. Now we got the definition of communication. We also understood the origin of this term communication. In the previous slide, we spoke about the elements or the process of communication. Now today we'll talk, on this slide we'll talk about communication objective. Now, as we all know, communication doesn't happen just for the sake of it. It has got certain objective, certain goals, which it intends to accomplish. And this is for the reason why it is conducted or it is done. So first objective is communication objective. And when I say communication objective, I mean in terms of doing the promotion, or you can say marketing promotion about your product or services. So when the objective is to promote the product and the services, that will be a part of communication objective. And the best example would be IDA's model. So if you remember, we spoke about A for attention, I for interest, D for desire, and A for action. Now, when the objective of communication is to promote or to do marketing promotion, you remember yesterday we also spoke about promotion mix. We had 6 elements in that, starting with advertising, personal selling, sales promotion, direct marketing, publicity. Now, in terms of promoting or doing a marketing promotion, that could be an example, that is IDA model. Second would be communication objective in terms of sales. It means to increase the sales. If I am writing, let's say, a mail or a letter, or sending, some literature, some flyers, talking about that this is the product which we have got and which we intend to sell. So in context of selling, even that is a objective of communication. So 2 things, promotion and as well as selling. Promotion will facilitate the process of selling, will help, but selling is the end step of the entire marketing process. Now, if you see, it says any sales or any sales call has got 5 steps involved. What are they? Let's see. Opening the call. When I say opening the call, it means you are making call, or you are trying to figure out the person involved into it. The person is from the buyer side, what exactly, or who is the person, its designation. Second would be investigating needs. Once I get him on the call, or maybe I have got an appointment, and if I go and make a personal visit, I will speak to him and figure out, him or her, I'll figure out that what are the needs, what are their requirements. And then the third steps would involve giving benefits. Then I will tell about my offering, that how my offering will be good enough to fulfill the company's need, his or her need. And after that, if he has got any clarification, any queries, or you can say any objection, then I will take care of that also. He will talk about the quality, he will talk about the price, he will talk about any other thing, the service part. So I will take care of it, I will handle it. And then finally we will seal the deal. We'll close the deal. So there are different techniques of closing the deal. So these 5 steps are involved in the entire process of sales. It starts with opening the call or making the call. So here in this slide, we spoke about the communication, the objective of communication in context of marketing promotion and in sales. And we also spoke about the 5 steps involved into sales. I hope this is clear. We'll move. Now, communication skill set. I would like you guys to read this thing. You know, when I talk about communication, communication becomes very, very important in whatever business you are in. If I talk about FMCG, if I talk about, let's say, industrial good, even that way, communication is important. If I have to talk to my retailer, if I talk to my wholesaler, if I am approaching directly to the consumer, it becomes an important part of the entire marketing process, and especially it helps in persuading a client or a prospective client. So it becomes very important. Now, if you see, certain skills are required for this communication skill sets. First, it states it's required to understand the requirement of communication is in a given situation. The process remains more or less same. Do I really need to communicate to the market? To make it simpler, if I have to launch, let's say, or introduce a new service, now how market is going to know about it? Market is going to know about it if I talk about it. If I don't talk about it, market will not be able to know it. So if I'm launching something, if I have to talk about my product mix, then I will speak, I will give some communication. I will resort to some kind of communication, be it personal, be it like putting an outdoor hoarding or like TV commercials or radio jingles. Now, in framing that message, what kind of message, what kind of punchline would like to communicate to the market, that requires skills. It also requires skills to select the right channel. If I am targeting something to youngster, I'm not sure how much time they spend reading newspaper or spend time reading, watching television, because most of the things they do nowadays on their mobile phone, on their smartphones. So selection of the right medium so that it delivers to the right target audience also requires skills. And now whatever you want to deliver, is it received in the right form? Or is it like the meaning gets distorted while passing the message, or the receiver is unable to understand? I remember an example when a Fiat launched its car called Nova in Spain, and the name of the car was Nova in Spanish, and those people were really surprised, the Fiat company, like, why the sale was not happening even after 6 months. So when they did some research, they figured out that the Spanish meaning of Nova is the thing which doesn't move. Now you are selling a car, and the brand name suggests that this thing doesn't move at all. then it becomes a bit tricky because your brand should reflect the kind of set skills your product or your service will deliver. So even that is required. And also skills are required that if I get some feedback, if I get some response from the market, I should be able to act on it, to decipher it in the right frame, in the right context, and act ASAP as soon as possible on it. So these are the communication skill sets we just spoke about. I hope this is clear. We'll move. Now, there are different ways of communicating. What I am doing is the verbal communication or the oral communication. When I talk about verbal, it means, or oral, I means what I talk. There are non-verbal, there are written communication, which we'll see further in the slide. But as of now, we'll talk about the oral or the verbal communication. Now they say that if you want to be a good communicator, you need to be a good listener. Because if you are unable to comprehend or to grasp what exactly is being told or being said, you won't be able to communicate in the right perspective. So when I speak about oral communication, I mean a communication face to face. Look at me, what I am doing, though it's a virtual communication, but at least I'm talking verbally and you guys are listening. However, this class is a one-way communication. It's not a two-way communication, because when I said two-way communication, I would have loved to get some feedback or maybe some questions you would have asked me, which actually happens in actual class. But nevertheless, it helps oral communication, verbal communication, it helps to communicate things properly in the right perspective, and also helps to get the feedback and reply to that feedback. So these are the benefits where we don't waste time. You meet people, you talk, you reply to them. The only loopholes or the only disadvantage what I can think of in this oral communication, that it is spontaneous because you are talking to somebody, but if the communication is not done in the right, or in the proper form, there are fair chances that it might get interpreted wrongly. Now there you don't have chance to correct it because you already spoken. You might would like to change it, but as they say, first impression is, is almost a forever impression. So when I talk about verbal oral communication, this is what? It has got immense benefit. You go and meet one-to-one, you get response, you get feedback, you reply to it. The only disadvantage is a bit spontaneous, and if the message is not put in the right perspective, in the right form, it might get misinterpreted. And that will go against you. So if tomorrow somebody asks you, what are different ways of communication? And what are their benefits? And discuss disadvantage of oral or verbal communication. So you should be able to answer this thing. Moving ahead. Now I just said verbal communication is one of the communications. Another is written communication. Please go through this thing. Written communication is very important as far as business goes, as far as communicating to another person goes. And a salesperson or the salesforce must be equipped to write or to have flair in written communication. And the entire idea of written communication is to write or to communicate something in writing, which can be a thought, maybe an idea, maybe about your product, maybe about your service. And written communication has got more shelf life, more than verbal communication, because later might be documented or might be kept for the record purpose. That's why written communication becomes important. And there are ways how to put it. A convincing letter. So if you want to write a good business letter or a good letter, you should start with the firstly you should start with the important points, the most important points. And after writing those important points, you should also provide some details which supports your claim or what you have mentioned initially. And finally, the letter must end on a good note, on a friendly note, trying to show that you are happy to communicate to the person and you wish to do business with him, because whatever you have, a product or a service you're offering, will help or will fulfill his needs. So this is about the written communication, the way you should write it, starting with the important point, then supporting points, and also the points, also in the last, ending the letter on a goodwill note. So we spoke about verbal communication, we have just spoken about written communication, and now non-verbal communication. Another important part of the entire communicating process. Now, when I talk about non-verbal communication, I'm talking about the body language. A person who is talking, no, he would be talking something else, but his body, maybe the spark in the eyes, maybe the frown on the face, his hand gesture, his body postures will speak much more about him or her. If somebody who is speaking with his hand crossed like this, whatever he would be talking, but there is a non-verbal cues that this gentleman or this person is having a defensive approach, is careful. Now somebody who has got with no open hand is talking. Now this person, you can always think that this person is receptive to any kind of ideas, is open. So when a sales force or when a salesman go for a meeting, they are being trained in all kind of this communication, verbal, non-verbal, written. Verbally, the person might be talking something else, but if the body language is not supporting, then that becomes a tricky business. Then I won't be able to understand that what should I believe in, his verbal communication or his body language. So a salesman or a sales executive should be very, very careful in reading these non-verbal cues, which will help him or her in making the closing technique, or will help to seal the deal in a better way, in an easier way. So we just spoke about 3 ways of communication. I hope this is clear. We'll move ahead. Now, telecommunication. In today's time, telecommunication, if I have to break these words, this big word, into tele and communications. Tele means something to do with the telephone. Now in India, telephone and also with the advent of mobile phone, as we all know, our tariff rate is the cheapest in the world. It has become a very, very vital part in a business process. Now telephone or telecommunication helps a company to get in touch with new customer or to the new company. On phone, your executive can talk to your client, can brief him or her about the product, about the services, can fix up the meeting. And in many cases, it also helps to close the sale. I'm sure you will be getting many calls selling insurance or selling something or trying to communicate about your mobile tariff plan. And then accordingly, if you need it, you actually act on it. Now, tele-sales or telecommunication, if I have to say, it has got two types, inbound and outbound. Now, when I say inbound, if you see the definition, it talks about sales representative using telephone calls to interact with potential and existing customers. You pick up a call and then you start talking to him. Sir, how are you? How are the things going on? The product what you acquired or what you got, or the services what you availed from us, is it okay? I mean, are you enjoying it? Has it finished your, fulfilled your need? So that becomes a inbound telesales. But if I talk about outbound telesales, it means that you talk to an existing customer or maybe to a prospective customer in order to find contacts of new customers. Try to understand. Inbound sales, we talk to the people who are already existing, or maybe they have potential. Whereas when I talk about outbound telesales, I will talk to my existing customers in order to find out the contact of new customers. For an example, if I have availed some, let's say, maybe a service, I have purchased, let's say, an antivirus for my laptop. Now the sales guy will say, do you also have some acquaintance or someone known who might be interested in buying this thing? Because once you refer it, and if the sale is done, then you will get a further 10% discount. So there I also get interested because I am going to get some referral bonus because I have referred my friend. And these outbound telesales are also known as telemarketing. So telecommunication, we spoke about that the importance of telephone in today's time. It helps in being in touch with your existing or prospective client. Also, it helps to acquire a new customer from the existing customer by taking reference, which is also known as telemarketing. So tomorrow, if you get, let's say, a multiple choice question or fill in the blanks, outbound logistics are also known as, outbound telesales are also known as, or also called telemarketing, open marketing, television marketing. So you should be able to answer this. I hope this is clear. We'll move. Now, a remote communication. And if you see, because of this COVID, because of this pandemic which started in 2020, the dynamics, the face of business has completely changed. When there was lockdown in the country, people were not able to go out. There were hardly any meetings when I say face to face. So we resorted to the use of virtual world. When I say virtual world, I mean on internet, world wide web. Now we took help of Zoom, Google Meet, WebEx, in order to conduct our classes, in order to have our meeting also, to talk to people, talk to the customers. Now, this kind of remote communication, or communication virtually, were of two types, synchronized and asynchronized. When I say synchronized, it means a real-time meeting. Like you had to come at 9:30 in the morning when there was no pandemic. Same goes over there. Even though you're not going to the office, but through these various apps like Google Meet, Zoom, you will meet, everyone would meet on that given time of 9:30 because that's your office time to report. And asynchronized means that things which are recorded and can be used later on, maybe a video, maybe a demonstration, maybe something, a class. You might record this thing or it is available on the site for your later use also. So that becomes an example of asynchronized remote communication. Synchronized where everyone is at the time, is on the same time, talking, meeting, but not in real world, but on virtual world. Asynchronized means where things are recorded, they are saved for the later usage. That becomes a remote communication. So if I have to summarize Unit 4, I will simply say I will talk about the communication where we spoke about the origin of this term, the Latin word commune, the meaning of this word. We spoke about the different skill sets. We also spoke about types of communication in which we discussed verbal communication, non-verbal, written, remote communication, and so hence and so forth. We also spoke about the 7 elements which are essential in the entire process of communication. I hope with this you would have understood the importance of communication in business. You might face a question, why communication is important, especially in business world, and discuss the process as well as the different types of communication. So you can easily write what you've understood. Okay, so we have finished up Unit 4 in Block 2. We'll now move to Unit 5, which talks about negotiation skill. Now, negotiation, the term comes from the word called negotiate. So once we finish up this thing, we'll be able to understand the process, the benefits, how you do negotiation. So let's begin. What exactly it is, negotiation? Negotiation, if you see around you, in every sphere of life, there is some sort of negotiation going on. So negotiation is a process. When I say process, it means a two-way process, which is a design or which is being undertaken to reach to a common objective. And that objective must have a win-win situation for both the party. If you have got a stalemate, maybe a deadlock about certain things, so then you negotiate. You listen to the other person listens to you. And then you don't be rigid, and then you arrive, both the party arrive to a common consensus, a common objective, which will be beneficial for both of us. And though I am teaching you negotiation skill, but the best way to master this skill is to practice, practice, and practice. Unless you don't practice, you won't be able to do it. Take an example when you go out and you want to buy some vegetables or maybe fruits. Now the vendor says 100 rupee kg, let's say orange. Now you say, no, 100 rupees is too costly, I'll give you 80 rupees. The vendor will say not 80 because we will not get anything out of it. So okay, fine, 90, I will sell. And you also feel the same way. Okay, fine, 90 is a okay rate for me. So from 100 and from 80, you arrived to a negotiated price which is 90 rupees. So that makes both the party, you as well as the vendor, happy, and then you purchase it. So this situation, the negotiation, becomes a two-way communication which is designed or which is undertaken in order to achieve to a common consensus, to a common objective, so that both the party should have a win-win situation. We'll move. I told you negotiation, but just for the sake of repetition, it says a process for resolving conflict between two or more parties, where both or all modify their demands to achieve a mutually acceptable solution. I can think of a negotiation which will sooner or later happen between Russia and Ukraine. They are at war. They both have demands. And there are negotiators also. There are people, there are countries which are involved in between two, which have good relationship with both the parties. And then they are trying to solve the conflict, the situation of war which is undergoing since last 1 year. Because if you don't resolve this war, if you don't negotiate, then it will continue without any country blinking their eyes, and it will be dangerous for the entire world. Same goes with the marketeer and the customer. If you don't negotiate with the customer, you won't be able to sell your product. And negotiation, as I said, it always have a win-win situation for both the parties. No one should feel cheated or should feel being let down. So, because if you are not negotiating, if you become rigid, and if you are not ready to budge from a certain point, you won't be able to make sale. And if you are not selling things, then for what purpose you are in the business? Because you will not get the money. So that is why negotiation becomes important, and we understood the definition of negotiation and why it is important. Let's see. Is negotiation is different from selling? Is negotiation is different from selling? Can we say negotiation is part of the entire selling process? If you remember, when you go for the selling, there will be a time when the customer will be convinced about the benefits of your product and services. And then there will be negotiation around in terms of or with respect to the price, with respect to the service, with respect to the time of delivery. So these two are different. Negotiation can be part of selling. Selling means you have a product, you are persuading your customer, you are trying to convince them or convince him or her to buy your product. And then it becomes a one-way communication in terms of that you don't listen to the person's view. You've got your own agenda, you would like to, you are trying to sell. And then you persuade the customer to buy it. Whereas negotiation is a two-way communication where you take immense care of your customer or the buyer need. And then you arrive. During negotiation, you arrive to a mutually beneficial position where both the parties get benefited. So that becomes a part of negotiation, or the difference of negotiation and sell. Moving ahead, the negotiation continuum. It will continue with this thing. It talks about the place or the point where both the parties where both the parties are involved, who are or who agree to arrive to a point which serves the purpose of both the parties. There, we are not having a war. We don't try to subjugate someone, but we try to understand each other needs. And if there is a deadlock, we try to resolve it. We try to resolve it by being flexible, by budging from our point, and same is done by the opponent. And then we arrive unanimously or together to a point where we agree to have a deal which will be beneficial to all the parties. So the art of negotiation becomes very, very important because you cannot accept in this world that once you approach a customer, once you approach someone, he or she will agree to your own agendas, to your own points, unless the company or the customer sees the benefits he or she should get out of it. So a negotiator always always keep this in mind, that I have to be fair in my approach and I have to be flexible as well, because here we are not going to defeat someone. The entire agenda is to arrive to a point where both the parties are happily agreeing to certain points. It can be price, it can be quality, it can be delivery, it can be service. And then we do the business. Moving ahead, look at this. Now, as we discussed, the steps involved in communication, here there are also steps involved in negotiation. It starts with the preparing. You should be prepared with your own points, that what you can offer to the party. And then you start discussing. So after discussion, you come to the point where you see, fine, that these things are needed by my opponent. And then I start giving some small hint that you are okay with this thing. You might, go soft on your stand. You are flexible enough. And then you propose that if I give you a further discount of, let's say, 10%, will you close the deal? Or I'll give you like a 5% additional discount if you agree to buy, let's say, 50 units more from me. So propose and then you offer. But that doesn't mean that if you offered the client discount, he will readily take it, he will readily agree to it. Then there is like bargaining, he will say something, you will say something, and then finally, when both the parties agree to this thing, you close the deal. So these are the steps involved in negotiation, which starts with preparation. So take any example for that matter. You go to a place, you go to an industrial buyer, and you are selling, let's say, an ERP-based software. And you have priced your service at about 1 lakh rupees. Now discussion starts. And he will say, I have got another vendor which is selling me at 50,000 rupees, 85,000 rupees. They'll start giving some hint. Because you always remember that you are not the only one. You don't have the monopoly in the market. There are other players also. So we start giving some hints, small hints, that fine, we are not very much strict with the price. But if you agree to buy, or let's say to extend our warranty by 2 more years, I might give you at 80,000 rupees. And he will also say something. Then after some haggling and some bargaining, you close the deal. So that is the steps of negotiation. I hope this is clear. We'll move. Now, We have spoken about the definition. We also spoke about the process of negotiation. We spoke the difference between selling and negotiation. But are there strategies also in negotiation skill which somebody can resort to, can use? Yes, there are. First is strike back. It means offense is the best defense. When your prospective client is saying something, you should not back down. You simply say, I have got a product which is being respected and valued in the market, so why I should reduce my price? Why I should give you discount? If your prospective client is asking for more discount, it means you are also being offensive if he is being offensive. Second strategy would be given, agree to whatever the client is saying. It might happen because you are desperate to sell the product, or there is immense competition, because if you don't sell, there will be somebody, some other company will come and sell it at a lower price, maybe with a good quality. Or maybe you have a target to achieve. So then you agree to whatever the person is saying, to your client is saying. And the third strategy is to break off. It means if the person is completely adamant on certain point, even though you are flexible enough, but he's not giving in, if he's not coming from his point, coming down from his point, then you simply say, okay, fine, sir, thank you so much for your time. We cannot have the deal because whatever you are accepting, I cannot offer. So we will be a good friends, but will not be business partners. So there are three types of strategy which a negotiator adopts while going about the business. First is a strike back. I told you offense is the best defense. Second, give in. You agree to whatever they are saying because I told you the reason. And third, you break off because things are not happening. And when things are not happening, it becomes very, very difficult for someone because you cannot sell your things. You cannot have a business partner. You cannot become business partner if you are at the losing side. Because there, that feeling of being sidelined or being brought down from your stand in an unfair way, in unfair means will be always there. You want to be very happy in serving that client. So it should be very, very important. It can be either somebody can adopt one strategy or maybe combination of these three. Now you can ask me how combination? Maybe he will give some counter offer, or if he gives in here, but he will take from there. I have got two products, so I will give, let's say, some discount on this product while I will take more money on some other offer. So you can select, a negotiator can select either of these three, or combination of these three, or combination of twos. I hope this is clear. We'll move. Now there are certain principles of negotiation which a negotiator should stick to. The list is exhaustive. You can go through this thing. But if you ask me, I will tell you that negotiation is not a war. That should be done peacefully. We are not there to conquer somebody. And the negotiator must have patience like a rock of Gibraltar. Also, you should be empathetic to your client. You should understand why he or she is saying something. You should put yourself in their shoes. And while you are going for negotiation, you must always be prepared. And you should be very subtle in giving signals and signs. You should never be, no, you should never be looked like someone who is very desperate to get the deal. And always remember not to confront, not to rub your client or your prospective client in a wrong way. And we should always consider, I'll always remember the company which you are representing, the price, the certain price below which you should not go, because somewhere the price becomes the mirror of quality. Always be prepared, because the other person who is sitting on the other side of the table, who would be, that person would be prepared fully. So never underestimate someone else's knowledge and stamina. And even though you are unable to close the deal, always end your your negotiation discussion on a positive note, on a friendly note. There should not be any bad blood. Even though the business doesn't come to you, but should always be the discussion, the negotiation must always end on a happier note. When I say happier note, I mean when both the parties are satisfied, they are ready to resolve their conflict. And if they are not in the business, but still they remain on friendly terms. Because in the beginning, I told you that negotiation is not war, even though at the end of the war, negotiation happens. But in war, if one party is defeated, then it's not negotiation. Then there would be certain points that would be forced upon the defeated or the beaten party. But when the two parties are at equal footing, there would be discussion, there would be negotiation. And there you should always remember that in this discussion, in this negotiation, both the parties must win. No one should feel cornered or should feel bad about it, bad about the deal. So these are few principles of negotiation which must be kept in mind when you are going for this. So I hope this is clear. This is understood. So I'll move. And then finally, I will try to summarize it. In negotiation, we spoke about the definition. We also spoke about the difference between salesmanship or selling or negotiation. We spoke about the different strategies. No, before that we spoke about the process of negotiation. And after that we spoke about the different strategies what a negotiator can adopt. There are three types of strategy which someone can adopt. You know, if you remember, that slide, then we also spoke about the principles on which your negotiation must be done. The list was exhaustive. We spoke about you have to maintain your composure, your calm, because that's not a war. We have to be full of energy and stamina. We should never underestimate the other person. And we should always aim to have the discussion or to have the deal closed on a win-win situation for both the parties, so that no one should have any grudge against the other. Negotiators must regard his or her opponent as someone who is equal, because he will be or she will be your business partner. He will take use of your offering, and in turn, he or she will give you the money. So this negotiation skill you learn with practice. Theoretically, it seems very easy, but once you come to the actual part of this negotiation, it becomes a bit difficult. And unless you are not a good practitioner or have good experience about this thing, I can think of companies which are, companies which buy another company, like Tata buying Range Rover and Jaguar from UK. Now they negotiated it very well. So in terms of buyout, in terms of joint venture, the role of negotiator becomes immensely huge, because these are the experienced people. They will try to get the best for their company. So if you want to learn the art of this thing, you have to practice, practice, practice. That's the only way. You should be part of the team that has a senior negotiator who can teach you the finer points, the nuances of negotiation. So today we finished up Unit 4 and Unit 5. Unit 4 we spoke about the communication skill. Unit 5 we spoke about negotiation. Tomorrow we'll try to finish up this block. We'll finish up block 3. We have got 4 blocks over here. So I'm sure this class would have given you the right meaning of sales management, the ingredients which are involved, how you should go about it. We also spoke about other details. So tomorrow, once you come in, we'll finish up this Unit 3. So as of now, I would like to say thank you so much for joining in. I'm sure you are having a fruitful class. You are learning from what I have trying to impart, trying to teach you. And I would also request you that before you come to the class, you should read your material, because that will give you also a fair idea of what I am teaching. So with this, once again, thank you so much. Namaste. Okay. No, ऐसे ही पढ़ाना आवाज नहीं आ रहा मुझे.